Hello there everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video I want to give you a fairly quick guide to Krisk in Raid Shadow Legends. At least I hope it's going to be a fairly quick guide. We have a Krisk 10 times event coming up this weekend. People are probably pulling for that. I will be pulling some viewer shards, and that video will probably go live on Saturday. We are full up for shard pulls for that section, but there's another 10 times event starting on the Sunday. So I still have, I think, one spot available if you want to join in and you want me to pull your shards for you on Sunday. But anyway, let's look at Krisk. Let's see what he's all about. In the background here, this is Nightmare Hydra. There's a full commentary video on this run up on the channel already where you can see me talk about the entire run. The full raw VOD, the raw footage at 1x speed is up there. It's 50 minutes long and it's up there for members of the channel. So if you join the channel, you're supporting directly. I try to put up as many of just the full Hydra runs as I can as one of those extra little perk things. That's clearly not for everyone, but if you really want to go in depth, you can. So Krisk is in there. Let's look at Krisk himself. You can see some of what he's doing here in the background. We'll return to this run, obviously, but let's talk about Krisk. Actually, let's go to Krisk in my champion collection, and then let me tell you how you're going to design him and what he does and why he's so strong. So his A1, actually fantastic. I'm going to be saying this, by the way, about every skill. Every skill he has is actually fantastic. Enter the Morass, AoE attack, bucks to a 50% chance to place 30% decreased speed for 2 turns. This does not do much damage at all. It's a weak hit, but it can proc, spoiler for masteries, it can proc War Master in AoE. So it actually adds up to a nice extra chunk of damage, especially in like Hydra, Doom Tower Hard, anywhere where there's lots of enemies that you're fighting. And that decreased speed is just phenomenal. It's so strong to bring that. It's one of the rarer debuffs in the game, and it's super, super good, especially for Hydra. His A2, insane skill, 3 turn cooldown when booked, AoE attack. This one actually does decent damage. This one hits a lot harder. Places ally protection on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. 2 15% continuous heal buffs on this champion for 1 turn, and then increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. So number 1, he makes everything else in your team consistent. So for example, when Lydia comes in on a 3-turn cooldown, gives you strengthen and speed for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, 1 turn out of 3, these buffs are not going to be on us. Well, Krisk, because he extends those buffs, ensures that they always will be. So this is super valuable. And then it obviously synergizes with itself. The ally protection, he extends it by a turn. So he gives 3 turns of ally protection to everyone on a 3-turn cooldown. Essentially, permanent half damage to your entire team. And even these continuous heals that he puts on himself, he extends those as well. So he's got really good uptime on these. It's an insane move. The continuous heals help him to heal through the damage that he takes, the ally protection. Obviously I've talked about this very much in the last week on the channel, but for Head of Mischief in Hydra, he targets whoever has the most buffs. Because Krisk gives himself 2 continuous heals, he doesn't get ally protection himself, obviously, so he'll be 1 buff total ahead of everybody else. So he will be targeted by Mischief, which works really well. You can guarantee that as well, and the buff extension he does makes it just so easy to ensure that he always will have the most buffs. Then his A3, Invincible Shell, incredible move. 3-turn cooldown when booked. AoE Provoke for 1 turn. Increased defense on himself for 2 turns, and increased speed on everyone else for 2 turns. So you do have to be careful. This is obviously, for Doom Tower Hard, amazing. AoE Provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. Great. That gives him increased defense, so he takes less damage. Great. Fantastic. In a rare scenario where you're not going to run him with a Lydia in a composition like that, he's going to provide the increased speed, which is really good. For Hydra, you definitely need to be careful in Hydra because these are different buffs. So for me, I run him with Lydia, which means that he will give himself increased defense and nobody else on the team has increased defense. We just use Lydia's Strengthen. So like in this team right here, we just use the Strengthen from Lydia, the passive from Geomancer, and the ally protection from Krisk, plus a Guardian set on Inquisitor Shamail to reduce the damage we take. And we can actually tank through Nightmare Hydra, no problem. We stay alive, which means that increased defense, you can look at the buffs right here and see it very visually. Krisk giving himself the extra increased defense buff and those continuous heals too. He was just devoured and he's getting boosted by Shamail, so he outruns the buffs, but the rest is very consistent. So that's what we're looking for. So very good here. Just consider those buffs in Hydra specifically, but they're very helpful. The Provoke for Head of Decay is absolutely fantastic. You do need a supplement. He can't lock it down just by himself on a 3-turn cooldown, but he'll lock it down a good chunk of the time. He really delay it on its own, and if you add in something like a Husk who can also provoke, they can basically lock it down permanently just by themselves, even on Nightmare. Then he has an amazing passive as well. Shocker. Start of each round, shield on all allies equal to 50% of this champion's max HP. He has 19,000 base HP, which is really, really good. So he's going to give everyone a massive shield at the start of the fight. Very helpful, and obviously every new wave in Doom Tower Hard, every new wave in a dungeon, he's going to give you a new shield, which is fantastic. And then books to a 100% chance to put decreased defense and decreased attack on the attacker for 1 turn when hit. And there's one very intriguing thing about this. I guess it's not really obvious if we look at this here, but in this composition, I can tell you what we're doing. Geomancer is in the lead. Now that's important. He gives us a good aura, and it's important for him to be in the lead to get boosted by Inquisitor Shamael. Now for me, I actually have Husk behind Geomancer. The reason being, this is somewhat unusual, but the reason being that when Geomancer gets eaten, I want to turn meter boost Husk, because it's the only way on Nightmare for me to break Geomancer free. Then we want Krisk. It's very important to have Krisk as high up the turn order as possible. It's a bit unusual that I've got these two ahead. It's because of that very special circumstance. Why is that the reason? It's because his passive will actually trigger when an AoE hit comes in. So let's say, whatever, Head of Torment comes in, does his A2, and he's going to smack everyone. AoE hits in this game do not trigger simultaneously. Instead, it basically, when an AoE hit comes in, although it appears to be simultaneous, it actually calculates it per champion in your team order 1 by 1 by 1. And the important thing with Krisk means that anyone who's behind him in the turn order, so let's say Lydia, Godseeker, and Shamael are behind Krisk in the turn order, it means that when that AoE hit comes in, Krisk's passive will actually trigger, place decreased attack on the whatever Head of Torment in this example, and then the decreased attack will actually apply to the AoE hit on the champions behind him in the turn order. It's a really weird thing in the coding. It's super unclear, but that's how it works, which is ridiculous and hilarious. You have similar tech that happens with champions like Kyoku, Seeker, Sandlash Survivor, and so on. So it's kind of a niche thing, usually more so for Arena, but for Krisk it is important. So you want him to be high up in the turn order, or not the turn order, excuse me, high up in your team order so that his passive can kick in. So it's great. Really, really strong. I've been talking mostly about Hydra, but obviously he is fantastic then, obviously everywhere in terms of progress through dungeons and Doom Tower. Not really good for speed. Not good for speed, but for keeping your team alive. Just phenomenal, right? For Doom Tower, decreasing speed, protecting with ally protection, and locking down consistently with provokes, and also placing the decreased defense, decreased attack very consistently as well. In Doom Tower Hard, he's very, very good. I might show you a quick... Doom Tower, unfortunately, just reset today, so I'll show you a quick look at the team. But it's not quite foolproof or flawless. But yeah, he's just fantastic. Really, really good for Demon Lord Clan Boss as well. For me, I really think you want to build Krisk for Clan Boss, and then he will incidentally be good in Doom Tower Hard and in maybe some Tag Arena. He will incidentally be good in those areas, and obviously if you're progressing still in dungeons, he'll be good there too, just by virtue of the fact that he's insane. You don't need to build him specifically for those things. Build him for, and I recommend building him for Hydra, because Demon Lord Clan Boss is significantly easier. But yeah, so there you go. Right, let's take a look at this, guys. Let's take a look over here. So, for his masteries, this is what I have done. I have him going down the left-hand side. Obviously, for War Master, I think that's very important. Get as many AoE attacks out. I actually did not take single out because his damage isn't that good, but I did give him Life Drinker. He will heal a bit more when he's attacking with low HP. And that can happen sometimes. It's fairly unusual, but it can happen. No matter what, there's always a 3% chance that the Head of Mischief will steal buffs off of him, no matter what. In which case, he can certainly die once his buffs get ripped off. This will help him stay alive. It's just a nice little perk. And then what I've got him going down kind of a weird way here, kind of a weird way in the support tree. So charge focus, not that important. I would be grabbing him the increased accuracy though. Then I got him Shield Breaker, 5% more value from his shields. This is more so for Doom Tower, Arena, that sort of thing. And then I think these ones are important. Turn meter boost when his buffs are removed or expired. This is going to help him go faster. He applies lots of buffs to your team. And then Swarm Smiter, more accuracy for every enemy alive. I do think a very viable option, if you do grab the Charge Focus, you could absolutely take Arcane Celerity, which is going to give him turn meter when his debuffs expire too. I'm not sure which one is better, to be honest. I think they're both really good. I probably think I will change them and take Swarm Smiter off. My Krisk doesn't need it. And I think Arcane Celerity would be better. I'd ideally get him both of these, but it depends on what sort of gear you have. They're both good. They're both fine. Then he has Lore of Steel, boosting up his stats. Master Hexer to extend the debuffs, right? His decreased attack, for example, is only 1 turn. Getting that small chance to extend it's very helpful. And then extending his buffs as well is also very excuse me, is also very helpful, primarily for his continuous heals, right? It just makes it more consistent, tanking the Head of Mischief. And we have him with Cycle of Magic as well, so we can get down to Lasting Gifts. And that's what we're doing with that. So pretty straightforward with the masteries. Like I said, maybe a little bit of a tweak here at the start of that support tree. You could min-max it a bit, which might have some small benefits. So it's up to you. I will also say, if you are going to run him in a clan boss team, he like a demon lord, he probably needs different masteries. I'm actually not 100% sure what he would run, but I can show you like the sort of teams and stuff that he would be run in. But those turn meter boosting masteries would be really dangerous, and Cycle of Magic would be really dangerous, I think, in a demon lord team. It would throw off your speed tune, so be really careful. Double check the specific team that you're copying with Krisk, with Deadwood Jedi, etc. Right, let's look at his build. So how are we looking to build him? So I am looking to build him for Hydra, and rough rule of thumb for Hydra, what are we trying to do? We want good speed, we want really good resistance, and we want really good accuracy as well. So these are, for me, the rough rule of thumbs. These aren't, well, some of them are strict rules and some of them aren't. Like the speed requirements are a bit more airy-fairy. The resistance and accuracy requirements are a bit more hard-coded here. But for Nightmare, I think about 240 speed is what to aim for. You want him to be fast, but you want him to be slower than your buff champions. So they put out the buffs and then he extends them, and it just ensures that the buffs are nice and smooth and even. You don't want him to be faster than your buffing champions, and you don't want him to be too slow either. 500 resistance is what you want for Nightmare Hydra to make it as consistent as you reasonably can, and then just over 400 accuracy to make it as consistent as possible, even when Head of Suffering comes in, that you can still debuff Head of Suffering even with his passive, and he has really high resistance. We come down to Brutal. Again, the speed here is a bit airy-fairy. I think about 230 is about right. 500 resistance though is still what you want, which is ridiculous. Honestly, it's more like 495. He's got 5 less accuracy on Brutal than he does on Nightmare, the Head of Mischief specifically. So 495. Just go for 500 so he works for both though. Like at this point, you might as well. And then for accuracy, it's much easier. 325 accuracy. And obviously your accuracy stats don't include your masteries. And you could also ditch, like you could also be slightly low on accuracy, and yeah, you'll miss debuffs and Head of Suffering, but you'll still land debuffs on most of the other heads, so you get away with some of it. For hard, 220 speed, 460 resistance is still very high, 260 accuracy is much lower. Then for normal, I think 200 speed, I just don't see why you'd ever build Krisk at less than that. 410 resistance and really low accuracy, 140. And this is not including auras and whatnot, but I really think that generally speaking, you want him to be just working standalone. You don't want to be relying on increased resistance, decreased accuracy, that sort of thing. These are like your standalone stats so that he just works no matter what, which is what you want out of your Krisk. He has really good base stats, like 50 base resistance. He's got really high defense, all the rest. So it's easy enough to build him this way. In terms of specific gear that I did to do that, I have him triple perception, and then I'm looking for pieces with lots of speed and accuracy and resistance. So accuracy, resistance, speed. That's what I'm looking for. I have him in HP percentage gloves. They're only 5-star. There's room to improve there. Resistance chest with speed, accuracy. Speed boots, again, there's room to improve. They're only 5-star, and they got 2 rolls in flat defense. If these had resistance, accuracy rolls and were 6-star, much better. Then for the rings, defense ring with HP percent. This could be a HP ring with defense percent. You're basically just looking for defense and HP percentages. For his necklace, you want a necklace with lots of accuracy resistance. Again, room for me to improve here. And then for the banner, probably a resistance banner is what you're going to want to do. I mean, if you got him in triple resistance set, then you could switch these with like accuracy stuff. Whatever it is that you need, but most likely you'd be relying on your resistance pieces and lots of gear with lots of resistance. Specifically as well, pro tip here, I do not have a blood shield accessory for Lizardmen, but a blood shield accessory, which gives him a shield when he attacks, is top tier. And my preference for his accessories, if you had the option, I do think that the double revenge accessory is really good. It gives him a 10% chance to counterattack when hit. That's excellent because he ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, he's got a 50% chance to land decreased speed. It's only 50%. It's consistent, but not super consistent. Let's put it like that. The counterattack makes it more consistent, which is really, really nice. Yeah, then 1 blood shield, so he gets a bit of a shield whenever he does attack or counterattack to just direct mischief to him even more. Though I run him without blood shield and it works just fine. Although I do have Godseeker who extends his continuous heals a bit more. But there you go. Bear that in mind. So yeah, look, basically we're coming up to turn 100 here on Nightmare. We've passed that 1 key. And you can see that Krisk, he's just doing absolutely phenomenal stuff. Let's be honest. He's doing absolutely phenomenal stuff. He is by far the best champion in the game for Nightmare Hydra. By far. It's not even close. He's definitely the best. You can do 1 key teams without him, but it's significantly more difficult. It's sort of like playing Hydra on cheat mode. He literally has everything that you need for taking on the Hydra. He is so good. Look at that counterattack right there. Really, really good. So there we go. That is Krisk in Hydra. If I skip on, I'll show you the stats we got at the end of that run. We can see, oh, hang on. So just to put it in context, again, I have a full guide up on this if you want to see it. But Krisk, he put out about 4.4 million damage. You know, it's a respectable amount of damage considering I don't have him built with any crit rate or crit damage. Beware, especially crit damage is bad. It ups the damage he takes from ally protection. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense, but that's how it works in the game code. So no crit damage. He's still putting out respectable damage. He's healing himself a ton. And as you can see from the damage taken on everyone, like, Lydia only took 150,000 damage in 50 minutes of Nightmare Hydra. You know what I mean? Krisk is reducing so much of that damage. He's taking most of it, but he heals himself so much. It makes, like, he's healed himself for more than the damage he's taken, right? So strong. So strong. For other areas of the game, let me show you this as well. That's a sack of gems. That's new. Oh, that might be okay-ish value, maybe. I don't know. It's not as good as the daily gem pack, but nothing is. Here we go. So to give you a concept, this is a little bit out of date. This is from November 2021, but this is like your super tanky clan boss team. And there are other variants of this team relying on Krisk, who's there to sort of extend your buffs. And you can see the idea of this team. Very simple, very simple. They just last forever. This team just lives and lives and lives. There's new versions of this which have like Corpulent Cadaver in there who does damage based off of shields, and because you reduce the damage you take so much with Krisk and Brogni grows your shields, you can have Corpulent Cadaver just pumping out crazy hits. And there's strategies like that. But it's team sort of concepts like this is what you're looking for. He combos very well with Brogni. Again, look for your specific things. The thing I do like about this team is it's a super easy 1 key team, though obviously this is extremely good legendaries. But you can see Krisk's speed is pretty much in that range for what we want for Ultra Nightmare. Like, it works well enough. So, yeah, there's just some things to consider there. There's some things for you to consider. There's lots and lots of different compositions. If I go over to, like, deadwoodjedi.com, we come over here, and we go into Deadwood Jedi, come into Speed Tunes, and Krisk the Ageless right there, bam. There's literally a whole ton of team. Well, not a whole ton. There's 5 teams, exactly 5 teams that you can build. Now, there's more than that, but he's got 5 very specific teams. Look at the site looks great, but poor old Krisk's head is horribly clipped in this picture. You wouldn't recognize him right there. That's funny. But yeah, lots of different Krisk style teams. There's tons more as well, obviously, I think. So he's super good for Demon Lord Clan Boss. Again, I think progressing in the game, that could be huge. Ultimately, I have to reiterate, I would recommend really transitioning him out of Demon Lord. I mean, if it's your favorite part of the game, go for it. But there's so many teams you can build in Demon Lord that don't need Krisk. Whereas for Nightmare Hydra, there's not that many that you can build that don't need Krisk. If I come in and I show you like the top teams here, guess what? Krisk. Here's one team without a Krisk. There you go. But Krisk, he's in there. Another team with no Krisk. There's another one with no Krisk. There's actually a few with no Krisk this time. That's quite surprising. So Krisk not showing up as much, but hey, he's still super common. Probably not the one. I think Husk is more common overall, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Royal Guard is stealing Husk's thunder as well. They both do the same thing, basically. But he's super common, super good. So yeah. while we're considering, you know, let's throw in a quick Doom Tower run. Again, unfortunately, Doom Tower reset. I forgot to do this. Dazzy just became a member. Thank you. I forgot I had notifications turned on. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. There you go. There you go. A new member. He's going to be checking out all these videos. But I've been running this team through Doom Tower hard. And this team, it's not super fast. This team does not clear waves super fast. But what this team does do is this team, at least I'm going to try it in this rotation of Doom Tower as well. I ran this team through all of Doom Tower hard last time. I actually switched in, what's her face? Deliana. I switched Deliana in. I'm just pouring some coffee, by the way. Lovely coffee. I got a new coffee in the shop today. I'm trying... I put Deliana in the lead halfway through. I was using Nodgar up until then, hoping to make Nodgar work. And he was okay, but on the higher floors, he just dies too much, and he can't revive himself anymore. But I put Deliana in, and you'll see, like in Doom Tower Hard, this is not a really good illustration because it's floor 1. But basically what they're doing here is what they do for every single floor. And this did every floor of Doom Tower Hard on full auto last time, and Krisk is phenomenal. He extends our buffs, giving us full coverage of Brogni buffs, of Lydia buffs. Just insane. He keeps taunting stuff, so like Mortu Macab, who's a real pain in the butt, he just taunts those Mortus and stops them doing their thing. It's amazing. Yeah, it wasn't quite full auto. There was maybe 2 or 3 floors that had Riho Bone Spear, where it would not full auto. She was on like wave 3, Riho Bone Spear, and I just had to click Riho. That was the only thing I needed to do. I needed to actually target Riho so that Lydia would put her debuffs on Riho, because we'd come into the wave and we wouldn't have all of our cooldowns, and Riho with her passive would remove the debuffs and then cleanse them, and then we'd be in trouble. But if you targeted her with Lydia, just to make sure Lydia did her A3 or A1 on the Riho and locked her down, then it worked automatically from there. But yeah, so he's amazing for Doom Tower Hard. Now, obviously, this is like a super pimpin' team, but I mean, look, Krisk and Deliana top damage, yeah? Deliana, throw her in there. Check out my Deliana guide. Throw Krisk in there. Ramantu definitely makes it a lot safer, and so do these. But like, you can come up with a similar team with earlier free-to-play sort of team. Like, you put in a Vizix, you could put in Sill of the Drakes, and then you might want to put in something that gives you like some shielding and stuff, so you can take some of those hits a little bit better. But something like that, and you're just going to rip through. You are going to rip through. You know, Buff Strip is also useful too. I mean, you could put in like a Madame Ceres, even, just something like that, you know. Rian the Conjurer when you get Rian from Doom Tower Normal. Drexthar, maybe. Lots of options. But guys, thank you for watching. I said it was quick. This was actually not quick. It was the same length as all of my guides. I tried. Guys, that's Krisk. My thoughts on him. Amazing champion. Really, for me though, he is a Hydra specialist. That's just the way I see him. And clan boss specialist if you're building like a record team, world record team for fun. But for like hardcore progress, most of us are progressing on Hydra. Krisk is the best. Guys, thanks for watching. See you all next time. Bye bye.